Okay, folks, buckle up. Today on the Mysteria archive, we delve into the disturbing phenomenon of glitched reality, where you wake up one morning in the wrong timeline. Get ready for a wild ride. Have you ever opened your eyes in the morning and something just felt off? The room is the same, your phone works, your job still exists, but the vibe is different. The colors, the people, even the air. You didn't wake up in a dream, you woke up somewhere close, but not quite. Maybe it's your memory playing tricks, maybe you're just tired. Or maybe, just maybe, you've slipped sideways into a version of reality that looks like yours but isn't. This is the glitch no one talks about, waking up in the wrong reality. Can you imagine? Well, thousands, possibly millions don't have to imagine, as it's happened to them. Now, that'll be one scary morning. The feeling you can't explain. Let's start with the feeling itself. It doesn't announce itself with flashing lights or eerie music. It's quieter than that. You wake up, everything looks normal. But the moment you move, there's something, a shift. Your bedroom feels off, like someone copied it from memory and got 98% of the details right. Your dog stares at you like you're a stranger. Your phone background is the same, but wasn't it different yesterday? You got dressed, step outside, and even the air feels wrong. The sunlight is duller. The sky is a slightly different shade of blue. You shake it off, probably just sleep inertia, right? But the feeling lingers. You go to work, talk to friends, scroll your feed, but everything's wearing a mask. And it's not just you. Thousands of people online describe the exact same thing. That creeping sense that they've woken up in a world that isn't quite theirs, where everything's just slightly off. Familiar, but uncanny. So, what is this? A glitch? A dream hangover? Or something we were never meant to notice? Yeah, I've had this. Woke up one morning and my kitchen floor was the wrong color. Spent 20 minutes trying to figure out if I was going insane or just hadn't had coffee. But seriously, this wrong reality feeling is surprisingly common. And it's not always dramatic. It's that weird dissonance, like hearing a song you know but the lyrics are slightly different. And sure, sleep inertia is a thing, but thousands of people feeling slightly wrong in the world? That's not just grogginess, that's something else. Let's look at some actual stories. They do get weird. Real stories from the edge. Let's now explore several eerie real-life accounts from people who believe they've slipped, if only briefly, into another timeline. These aren't just strange dreams or déjà vu. These are stories that left people who lived them questioning the very fabric of reality. The Vanishing Childhood Home, July 2023, New Jersey. In July of 2023, Newsweek reported on a woman named Amanda, last name withheld, who shared her unsettling experience on Reddit. After her mother passed away, Amanda visited her childhood neighborhood in northern New Jersey. But when she arrived at the address, she found an entirely different house in its place. Same number, same street, but not the two-story colonial she remembered growing up in. Neighbors insisted the current home had always been there. Photographs she found later online showed the new house going back decades. Amanda was so shaken that she began to suspect she had either misremembered her own childhood or crossed into a version of reality where her original home simply never existed. The Office That Shouldn't Exist, November 2020, Sydney, Australia. A Medium contributor by the name of Elsie Harven detailed an unnerving moment in 2020 during her commute in Sydney. Due to construction, Elsie took a new route through a part of the city she rarely visited. That's when she passed a corporate office labelled Bellridge Solutions, a firm she distinctly remembered working for as an intern during university. Except, when she checked her old resume later that day, there was no mention of Bellridge. She even asked former classmates, who had no memory of her internship there. Stranger still, when Elsie returned to the building just a week later, the signage was gone and the office space was completely empty. Was it a memory from a previous timeline bleeding into this one, or just a bureaucratic glitch? The wrong flight, right timeline. February 2014, Tokyo to San Francisco. One of the more publicized and bizarre cases came from Reddit and was later covered by Vice. A man calling himself Noah E. recounted boarding a flight in Tokyo bound for San Francisco in February 2014. But upon arrival, nothing felt right. He described the signage in SFO as slightly altered, familiar restaurants in the terminal located in the wrong spots, and even a brand of coffee he swore never existed now being a staple. Things got even stranger when he got home to discover small inconsistencies. His car keys were different. A childhood photograph he clearly remembered had different people in it. A medical checkup revealed nothing wrong neurologically. Noah eventually convinced himself that the turbulence they experienced mid-flight had somehow knocked him into a parallel version of his life. Now these are just 3 stories out of thousands you will find if you go looking. And while anecdotal, they resonate with a common theme: the profound disorientation that arises when one's perceived reality no longer aligns with memory or expectation. Now, these stories might sound unbelievable, but what if belief isn't the point? And maybe what matters is that people felt their worlds shift. Can trauma, memory, or sleep disorders really account for all of it? Or are we just brushing up against something far stranger? Fragments of a multiverse brushing against each other like strangers on a train. Now, have you ever experienced a moment where reality felt just a bit off? If so, share your story in the comments below. The psychology of disorientation. Okay, so let's pump the brakes before we blame alternate dimensions. Because the human brain, it's a mess. Especially right after we wake up. There's a thing called sleep inertia, that groggy fog you feel when your brain hasn't fully rebooted. During that window, your sense of time, space, and logic is, let's just say, running on expired coffee. And then there's memory reconstruction. We don't store memories like files. We rebuild them every time. So, when you wake up and the room feels off, maybe it isn't the room. Maybe it's your brain trying to redraw the blueprint from last night and getting the colors wrong. There's also false awakenings, dreams where you think you've woken up, but you're still dreaming. You could wake up, feel off, and go through your day, and not be awake at all. Add in stress, anxiety, and the fact that time feels like soup lately, and yeah, maybe we just need a nap. But here's the twist. Even after you shake the sleep fog, the feeling sometimes sticks. And that is harder to explain. I mean, sure, the brain's basic meat jelly trying to run Windows 95. Sleep inertia? I've been there. I once tried to put toothpaste on a fork. But that lingering wrongness, that's not just sleep, that's not just morning confusion. You know when you walk into a room and forget why you're there? Now imagine that, but it's your whole life. And that weird echo of being in the right place, but the wrong version of it. So yeah, brains are glitchy, but what if the system is too? The parallel time hypothesis. Now we take a step off the ledge. Because if the world doesn't feel quite right, maybe you're not imagining it. Maybe you're just not in your original timeline anymore. According to multiverse theory, there could be an infinite number of realities, each one just a hair's different from the next. In one version, your cat is orange. In another, your parents never met. In another, you never watched this video, which would have been a tragedy. Quantum decoherence suggests particles exist in multiple states until they're observed. So, what if you shifted states? You didn't jump timelines in a sci-fi movie sense. You slid just a little. Everything's 99.9% the same. But that 0.1%, that's the bookshelf you don't remember owning. The song that sounds wrong. The friend who suddenly has a different laugh. Some theorists call this timeline drift. The idea that massive world events, experiments, or unknown forces cause small cracks, and occasionally we fall through. You don't die, you didn't dream it, you just moved. And the only sign is that tiny nagging feeling, this isn't how I left it. Multiverse theory always sounds cool until you realize there might be a version of you out there who still uses Bing. Look, I'm not saying you definitely quantum slid into Earth Prime Beta or whatever, but the fact that this could be scientifically plausible, yeah, that messes with your head. And can we talk about that 0.1% off is worse than full-on different? Like, if I woke up and the sky was purple, I'd deal, but if it's just slightly the wronger shade of blue, well, that's nightmare fuel. Stick around because it gets weirder. Is reality being glitched or controlled? Alright, Time to ask the uncomfortable question. What if it's not you that changed timelines? What if reality itself is being tweaked? Think about it. Your life feels off, your environment's slightly different, but nobody else notices. Maybe that's because it's not a universal shift. Maybe it's localized. Some theories suggest these glitches aren't accidental. They're resets, like a program patching itself mid-run. This is where simulation theory sneaks back in, but not the full sci-fi matrix, more like selective maintenance. Reality as a system, you as a user, and every so often things get recompiled. Some people even describe NPC behavior, friends acting unusually blank, or strangers repeating the same phrase word for word. Others link it to the dead internet theory, where AI-generated content slowly replaces reality. So, maybe you're not shifting timelines. Maybe you're staying still, while reality is rebuilding itself around you. And like a video game loading in a new map, you wake up before the textures are finished. I'm not saying your barista is an NPC, but if they've asked you the exact same, what can I get started for you today, in the exact same tone 56 times this month, maybe ask them if they are buffering. Look, it sounds wild, but the idea of reality glitches isn't that far-fetched when you think about how much of our lives already run on code. And if you've ever felt like the background people were off or the air felt too still, maybe you're not imagining things. Maybe you're just early to the reboot. Cultural and historical parallels. If this sounds like a 21st century anxiety disorder, it's not. Because the idea of waking up in a not quite right world goes way back. In Celtic folklore, there are stories of people wandering into fairy mounds, mystical realms where time passes strangely. Some came back hours later, some decades, some never felt like themselves again. In Norse mythology, shamanic dreamwalkers were said to travel between worlds during sleep. They'd wake with knowledge they couldn't explain, and often a sense they'd brought something back with them. Even ancient Japanese legends speak of mirror worlds, parallel realms just slightly out of sync. And then there are thin places, locations where the veil between realities is said to wear thin. Old churches, forest clearings, mountains. Places where people vanish and return changed, or don't return at all. So maybe what we're calling a glitch today is the same phenomenon people have been whispering about for centuries. We just gave it a new name. Because some stories don't go away, they just evolve with the times. Yeah, apparently humans have been waking up in weird realities since forever. I mean, we had mirror worlds before we had mirrors. And those fairy tales, they weren't just bedtime stories, they were warnings. Don't fall asleep in a ring of mushrooms, or you might wake up somewhere else. Well, we love to think ancient people were just imaginative, but what if they were describing the exact same thing, only without Reddit to post about it? Honestly, I'd take fairy realms over simulation patch any day of the week. At least they had music. So, what do you believe? So now we're left with the big question. If you wake up one day and something feels off, what's really happening? Is it all in your head? Just the brain being weird, glitching out like a Wi-Fi signal during a thunderstorm? Maybe. But what if it's not? What if you really are slipping, just slightly, between timelines? One day your life goes left instead of right, a fork you didn't even see. And suddenly, the people you know aren't quite themselves. The air smells different. Or maybe it's bigger than that. Maybe reality itself is unstable. A simulation running updates while we sleep. Or an ancient mechanism resetting variables we don't understand. You wake up in the same house, but in a world that's one pixel off. And deep down, a part of you knows this is not the place I fell asleep in. So, what do you believe? Is this psychological, dimensional, or deliberate? Drop your thoughts, theories, or weird personal stories in the comments because I read them all. And who knows, maybe someone else has been in your reality too. Alright, I'm not saying I've switched realities, but I definitely remember eating a sandwich that no one else remembers me making. So, case closed. But seriously, these stories are fascinating and they hit people hard. Maybe it's sleep, maybe it's science, maybe it's, the universe getting lazy with rendering. But If you've ever really felt that chill of something's not quite right, you're not alone. Now tell me in the comments, what was your moment? I want the weird ones. And hey, if I don't reply, maybe I'm not in your timeline anymore. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this one. Another big thank you to everyone who's subscribed or simply watched and commented over the last few weeks. Thank you. It's really helping our small channel. And let me know what you'd like to see covered in the comments below. Okay, friends, until next time, stay curious.